Welcome back, everybody. I'm Mouse Blue, and I have patch notes for you. 2 weeks worth this time, so let's go check it out. So these are the patch notes from January 10th. What's new? This week brings 2 new quests into the game for your enjoyment, along with a few small fixes. Outside of that, things are a bit light as we are starting to work on bigger tasks that take more than a week to complete. See the work in progress section. Bug fixes and improvements. Environment and art. Fixed a number of stuck spots, environment issues, and navigation issues in Redshore Ridge, Exile Freehold. More fixes next week. UI. Fixed an issue with dim, diminishing returns, not properly showing in the combat log. Design. Specializations now gain experience at a faster rate when they are lower than your base roll's level. This should allow specs to more easily catch up to base rolls at higher levels. It still takes a bit of time. New stuff. New quests. Both Dryfoot and Redshore have a new quest available. Help out the Dryfoot folks from New Haven as they struggle to survive in the desolate desert and all its pestering inhabitants. Then head over to Redshore and find out what happened at the camps throughout the forest. What are the exiles up to? More quests, both adventuring and trade professions, are coming soon. That's exciting. Trade profession quests, yay! Works in progress. To see a full list of what is currently in progress, head on over to this thread. We'll do another one of those soon. Skills UI and XP bar improvements, 1 to 2 weeks. We are making some small improvements to the Skills UI that should hit live in the next week or two. First up is sorting your adventuring roll to the top of others when it comes to the tabs on the right side. Next is improving the XP bars, both Skills UI and the action bar, to show a more detailed progress through each level. These improvements should provide more clarity that you are indeed making progress. New QA server, end of the month ? One of the unfortunate side effects of going live is that we can no longer iterate as quickly as we did before. In the olden days, we could pump out content as we didn't have to worry about things breaking since we were in alpha, beta, etc. However, now that we are live, we have to be much more cautious about what is released and make sure that things are thoroughly tested. Our current QA team is just us right now. Part of the reason for that is that our QA server, the old server box, handles a number of internal services, along with the live logging, which leaves it a bit starved for resources. In other words, it can no longer handle the load of running multiple zones with many clients connected without impending on other critical live services. In the coming weeks, we hope to be spinning up a cloud solution so that we may get back into the groove of quicker iteration times on the QA server for both us internally and you, the community. Our ideal setup is that we push a new QA build out on a weekly basis, or even more frequent. Copy characters over from live, give you all a bunch of cheats, potions, gear, etc., and allow you to test everything that we have been cooking so that you can provide feedback before it hits live at the end of the month. It will take us a bit to get this process smoothed out, but we appreciate your patience while we work through it. I am dying for the QA server. I want to test things. I'm a tester at heart. Hair improvements, 2 to 3 weeks, or never. Our art team has been experimenting with improvements to our hair models. Currently, we use a transparent shader, which is a pain in the neck. It interacts with some lighting in weird ways, renders through particles at times, ember rings, and overall is not providing the intended look. These new models should, in theory, allow us to disable transparency and improve the overall look of the different hairstyles. We say should because this is something we are still experimenting with, so it is not guaranteed to fully work out. Either way, we will keep you updated. Active Defense Revamp, 1 to 2 weeks. The tech for the Active Defense Revamp has been implemented. It is currently iterating through the design process, which includes itemization and balancing. Threat adjustments will likely come after the first adjustment. As a reminder, the functionality of the 3 active defenses are changing as follows. Avoid provides 100% damage mitigation. Later, we will add threat reduction. Block provides damage mitigation based on your shield or two-handed weapon. A new block value is being added to these items in the form of a range which determines how much additional damage is mitigated. Later, we will add threat generation to this. Parry provides a flat damage mitigation value, imposes disadvantage to the incoming attack, and allows for the chance to riposte. Later, riposte will be buffed. Patch size ongoing. Work is still ongoing here. Still no ETA, as this has to be done for each individual zone and is a lower priority than some other back-end updates. We're working on migrating our scenes to a new loading system that will reduce the overall size of patches. At the moment, all scenes are lumped together into a large 3 GB file. Anytime data within this file changes, it must be re-downloaded, even if those changes are small. By breaking our data up into smaller chunks, those downloads will ideally be minimized to smaller individual files moving forward. The end result will be saving us bandwidth and saving you download time on patch day. The tech required to do this loading has been implemented. The work remaining is breaking up the scenes into individual files, along with creating the shared bundles that contain assets used by multiple scenes. This work is taking much longer than initially anticipated due to the large dependency trees within scenes. We're packing resources into shared bundles, which requires us to identify what goes into each to prevent duplicates. The scene loading tech was rewritten over the break to accommodate this future change and will be active in this patch. Okay, we're not going to do that. We're just going to go to the next one and get right into it. Oop. Why'd it put me there? Put me on the first page. Come on. So this was the notes from January 17th. What's new? This week brings a number of bug fixes and a slew of improvements to how we display experience bars. We have also added an additional color indicator for enemy difficulty indicators to help players differentiate between different lower level mobs. Bug fixes and improvements. Tech. Fixed nav mesh link creation for ladders. This should resolve issues of NPCs not properly taking ladders in places like the Exile Freehold. Fixed specializations will no longer catch up when they reach the same level as your base roll. This is no longer needed now that specs get an experience bonus. They will catch up naturally as experience is earned. Previously, if your spec reached your base rolls level, then it would catch up in experience so that they were dead even. For example, if your base roll is 20.9, about to hit 21, and your spec is 19, if your spec catches your base roll and gets to level 20, it would have jumped to 20.9, bypassing 90% of level 20. So, that means, again, that your spec is not going to have the catch-up mechanic, but it's getting a experience gain boost. So you will get more experience as you re-level your specialization instead of having the catch-up mechanic. So it should be a bit easier to level your spec again. Environment and art. Fixed environmental bugs in props in Redshore Ridge and Exile Freehold. Nav meshes rebaked. Reduced the max range on cloud shadows so that they are more refined. They were set way too high. There's still work to do here. Fixed trees in the Meadowlands. Wolf and Spider Canyon no longer wiggle. Rip the wiggle trees. Added a /UTC time command to display the current UTC time. Added server time command to display the current time in the server's time zone, which is Central Standard. Fixed Adventuring Role tab is always above Gathering and Crafting tabs in the Skills UI. Adjusted experience bars in the Skills UI and action bars. See below for more details. Removed the Disable Camera Collision Smoothing toggle from the gameplay options. Added a toggle to disable World Space context menus for players and gameplay options. I'm not sure what that means, to be honest. Guess I'll have to go dink around with it and find out. Added an additional color indicator for lower level creatures. Greens, spanning from 3 to 10 levels below you, did not provide enough nuance to allow for the distinction between a very low green and a higher level green. A light blue color has been added that covers the 3 to 5 levels below you. The color ordering is now as follows. Gray, 10 or more levels below you. Green, 6 to 10 levels below you. Light blue, 3 to 5 levels below you. Blue, 1 to 2 levels below you. White, equal level. Yellow, 1 to 2 levels above you. Red, 3 or more levels above you. Added an upside down chevron for 0 chevron NPCs, like the ants from the ant hills and the rats from the rat's nest, to indicate that they do not give experience. Chevron indicators are now 33% larger on the UI and 16% larger on world space nameplates. NPC dialogue choices are now blocked when the rewards window is open to prevent conversation progression until the reward is selected. Design. Fixed yield from Ramie patch, dense Ramie. Fixed material level for level 40 topaz. Increased 3 chevron density of Dryfoot Stronghold. Slight increase in experience for lower level mobs, greens and light blues. Chaos Hatchet. Replace the hit modifier with a larger damage range. New stuff. Experience bar and Skills UI updates. This week brings a few updates to how our experience bars work. Previously, the blue fill showed your progress toward 50, while the red line showed your progress toward your current level. Except for the experience bar below your action bar, where the blue fill showed your progress through your current level? What kind of consistency is this? I have no idea who thought that was a good idea. It was me. But it's time to right the ship. From this point forward, the blue fill will always represent progress through your current level. The red line, on the other hand, will now represent your progress through your current 20% segment. As you will see in the below screenshots, each experience bar is now split into 5 20% segments. This red line should now give you a much more visible idea of your progress, especially at higher levels. This is your experience bar, right? Level 7, level 8. Each level is separated into 20% segments, right? These little lines here, you'll see them under your action bar as well. The red line represents one 20% segment. So, red line, 20%. Next up, we have a few minor improvements to the Skills UI and how it displays experience bars. Instead of showing 2 times experience bars with identical information, specialization experience bar will be only shown when your specialization level is different from your base role level. So you won't have this bar unless you have like changed your specialization or leveled up a lot more before you got it or something. This will only appear if they're not in sync. Left, the base and the spec are different levels, so there's two separate experience bars. The right, they are the same level, so there's only one experience bar. We have also added a red line and 5 20% segments on the action bar's experience bar below. Yeah, so again, you see this is a little over halfway here, and it's a little over halfway here. Works in progress. Quality of life improvements, 1 week. Next week should bring a few highly requested quality of life improvements to the game. Here's a quick preview. Chat tab close button moved to the tab's context menu. Window lock states will persist through sessions. Map window will show the zone name in the title bar. Executing abilities or consumables while sitting will cause your character to stand. Does that mean I can eat while sitting down without having to stand up first? Because that's amazing. Active defense revamp, 1 to 2 weeks. Our active defense revamp has gone through the design phase, and a few more kinks are being worked out on before we bring it to live. There are no current threat adjustments to avoid block and parry, as those will come after the first iteration. With any luck, however, the core revamp of their functionality will be ready for next week. Hair improvements, 1 to 2 weeks. A few weeks back, I had mentioned that our artists were working on improvements to the hair system to avoid visual anomalies, and we are finally ready to share some of that progress. The screenshots below shows the current system on the left and the new hair on the right. The biggest change is that we are moving away from transparent materials, as they cause all sorts of issues with lighting and colors at certain times of the day. In this particular shot, you can see through the hair, and overall, it just looks kind of odd. This effect is less pronounced with darker hair colors. In the right screenshot, the hair is no longer transparent and is more well defined. The eyebrows can come off a bit strong right now, and that is something we will continue working on, although it's less of an issue when the camera isn't in your character's face. Yeah, the eyebrows are fine, whatever. I'm not really looking at them that much, you know? Forgive the minor lighting differences. I assure you, this is the same character. Yeah. That looks a lot better. A lot better. Stat normalization and atomization improvements, 3 to 4 weeks. We are working on normalizing some stats so that they can be more easily compared to one another. The main offender here is the discrepancy between damage, hit, and pen. The general goal is to make the stats, such as 1 damage, roughly equal to 1 hit or 1 pen, so that comparisons can more easily be made between items. This change will also allow us to more accurately balance items moving forward. This type of change requires us to make some stat changes to a number of items, so expect some further testing. QA server, next month. We continue working on getting the QA server up and running on a cloud service. Benefit of this is twofold. A QA environment that players will be able to help us test pending changes, and in the event of an emergency, we will be ready to spin up a new live service relatively quickly on the cloud servers. The main goal is to move our weekly patches to the QA for proper testing internally and with the community. Then, once we have had the appropriate amount of time to iterate on changes, they would be pushed to live once a month. Patch size ongoing. This task has been bumped a little in priority, but is still ongoing. So back to the QA server thing. Some people were concerned about having a patch once a month. It's not that there's going to be a patch once a month necessarily. I'm sure there will still be weekly hotfixes and things of that nature. This is referring to things like the stat improvements, zones, new creatures, new abilities, tweaks to abilities, you know, all that kind of stuff, new gear, etc. They're saying that once they get the QA server going, then we as players, we can go test the things on the QA server, and then after they've been iterated on a few times, they will put all the things that are ready in live once a month. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Known issues. The launcher may randomly say you have an update when no update exists. Restarting the launcher typically resolves the issue and allows you to launch the game normally. We're looking into the cause. Resource nodes may occasionally tell you invalid target. That means your client thinks a resource node is there, but the server does not. We're still investigating the cause of this. Occasionally, a loot roll may be skipped. Carcass will be given. Please provide any details in a report about what you are doing, etc. They're still trying to track this one down. Let's see. Anything else new? No. Nothing else new here. Okay. So that is the patch notes. So that's it. 2 weeks in one go. Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you for watching this, making it this far. And see you next time.